in detail elaborate on the critics' perspective and industry's perspective on these new regulations. And to brief about Dr. Mishra, he is the current president of Natural Products from Sarvotam Care Limited. And Dr. Mishra is a doctorate by qualification, a passionate researcher, and a regulatory professional for cosmetics, natural products, innovations, and nutraceuticals. Dr. Mishra has completed his MD in Indian System of Medicine from the University of Kolkata University, and he also has an industrial diploma in pharmaceutical regulatory affairs and a postgraduate in management and doctorate on human health. He has about 24 years of experience on healthcare teaching, research, and global regulatory affairs, especially for cosmetics and nutraceuticals. And he has a series of patents and proprietary formulations to his credit. Presently, he is associated with Sarvotam Care Limited as a president for natural products. And prior to this, he was associated with many national and international organizations, including Himalayan Drug Company and Natural Remedies Private Limited and Wellness Research Laboratories, etc. So with that brief background, I welcome Dr. Mishra for a detailed presentation on the cosmetics rules. Pleasure to welcome you, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Lakshmi, and good morning to all dignitaries, learned persons, government officials, and my colleagues who are on today's webinar board. It was my great input when Mrs. Lakshmi has told me to deliver small interactions with all the senior professionals from the government and also to industries. I was sharing with her that the regulation which has came forward is such a huge, and it needs a one-day interaction. Also, it will be not will be complete, because if you go for line by line. So I thought, okay, let me brush it up from the beginning of that, and then we can see that what is the comparative differences between old and new, and how can we proceed ahead. And also in return, also I would like to have a knowledge from the other senior fellows who are also present in this webinar. With this permission, with this interaction, let us start the slide presentation, what I made in the short span of timing. And any questions, we'll also note it down. And from any dignitaries, with the interaction with other people from the government who are present here, also we will make the replies to the other webinar participants who are available in this today's session. Lakshmi, can you share, or you want me to share?
Sir, if you could able to do that, please proceed, sir. Otherwise, I'm also okay to share from my end.
Okay, let me try if I can do it here, unless I'll take your support. Is it visible?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, so let us start the discussion in a elaborated manner, which we can listen together and understand the matter. Now, this is the hotline which is available in the CDSO website, and many people who are my colleagues are present here are aware on that issue. That GSR 763E has been notified on the website of CDCSO on the 15 December 2020. It is the preceding to the draft regulation which has came in the 2018, and after all the stakeholders inputs, industries, learned persons, researchers, the government of India has finally, with the help of CDSO, has released the final version for the effectiveness from the 15 December 2020. So the main objective, what I understood from this is basically the main objective is to a separate, because earlier when you look for Drug and Cosmetic Act, there is no such provisions are there for the new cosmetics, like the ingredients which are available in the BSI or into our authentic, like what I call the ingredient list approved by Government of India or Indian Pharmacopoeia, if it is domestic product. There is no scope was there how to bring a new ingredient to the formulation where the people of India can get benefited. The second, and this is much more welcome, not only to researcher like us, it is also increase, it will also open the door of a business to the Government of India by terms of registration, and also a lot of international companies, manufacturers, agents, distributors are going to look at the India, and indirectly, directly, this is also going to increase the revenues, income, and employment in India. We welcome this decision by Honorable our government, CDCSO, and our ministry, bringing this type of a drastic changes and making a separate cosmetic rules 2020, which was not earlier. The second most importance of this regulation of these rules is earlier in the labeling, we have seen, I told to my people across all India that as a doctor also by practice, we also see that the customer is the final authority to decide whether I should use any product or I should not use any product. The customer should decide. In earlier regulation, the customer was not aware of all the ingredients which are present in the formulation because the Labeling Act was not stringent to say that any ingredient which are less than 1% weight by weight need not to be mentioned on the labeling. Whereas in these rules, which is released on December 15, 2020, has made mandatory the manufacturers and the marketing companies has to declare each and every ingredient starting from a microgram to the milligram. That is a great winning as a transparency between the manufacturer and the real stakeholder is our honest customers. These type of regulations are present available in Europe and USA and also in Australia. So this is a very good decision taken by CDSCO with all the drug controllers, assistant drug controllers, technical people, director of the analytical lab. After long study, they have made this regulation as a perfectly fine to make a transparency of the people to use and not to use. The third important justification made by this rules is that earlier any importing country or any importer are able to bring the product from the outside country because there are some relaxation in terms of quantification and market the product in high pricing and also in unfair manner of sales. Yeah, I do not mind to say unfair because this is really unfair. But now with these cosmetic rules, I hope that my all colleagues will be agree that not only the importing of cosmetics as general as such earlier, but also it has to go through the product approval as applicable to a product designed, manufactured, able to manufacture and market in India. The same regulation, same quantification applies to our India. And this is really a, I hope that all will be agree, welcome the decision because this is the third rules coming after the Food Safety Standard Authority of India has also permitted that any product which is coming to India has to abide the regulation of the India about the ingredients, quantities, and the safety and efficacy profile. So these are the three which I found the major changes in the macro level, bringing these new rules. And as a researcher, as a medical practitioner, and a regulatory practitioner also, we welcome, and I hope my colleagues who are available here and future who are getting trained also will welcome the grand clarity what Government of India and CDCSO has brought into this platform. So to the new people or the new learned who has not read, not gone through the rules, for them, I want to share the chapters which are available. And I have read these chapters multiple times because each line, each word is so lucrative, so lovely. It is beyond imagination. Each line, each word, each para is very, very clearly mentioned, which was not there in earlier drug and cosmetic regulation. So chapter 1, they are into the preliminary, which is very, very basic definitions into the legality, into the legal platforms. Chapter 2, authorities, officers, and laboratory, well classified, well determined. I hope my colleagues also will agree that such clarities were not there in earlier regulations. Chapter 3 is very, very important, import and registration. Chapter 4, the manufacture of cosmetics for sale and distribution. Chapter 5, permission for import or manufacture of new cosmetic. This is one of the added feature which I told in the beginning that it was not there in earlier, which was added here, is really welcome decision like other developed country, US and Europe and Singapore. This is really welcome decision, and we should always thank that. The chapter 5, which is presently hardly 4 to 5 lines are there, that need to have a more elaboration, and that has to be more elaborated because here the research, which is our Honorable Prime Minister is saying beginning that independent Bharat, or we are calling as a Swadeshi Bharat, that phenomena has to be expanded. I would request to our drug controller or the researcher which are situated here in the board of coming of the discussion, that with the input of researchers and also government and private, let us expand the chapter 5, because that is one of the important platform for all the new cosmetics which are coming, will open the scope for new diseases. Chapter 6, the labeling, packing and standardization of distribution of cosmetics. Chapter 7 is basically says about the procedure sampling, analysis, seizure, and the report how the drug inspector is going to share very clearly, which was earlier it was there but incomplete. Chapter 8 is the how the laboratory getting approved by the CDCSO, both by central licensing authority and the state licensing authority to carry out the test of cosmetics. And chapter 9 is about the miscellaneous, which are not covered in the chapter 8, are being included, also very small. Hopefully, this chapter 9, which are presented here, are going to be more elaborative when the more days is going to pass into, because a lot of changes are going to happen, which are absolutely required. So again, for the new entrants or the new our friends, like chapter 1, I told you the few critics what I understood from my side is the definitions, like what is called new cosmetic. They have defined that a cosmetic which contains a novel ingredient which has not been used anywhere in the world. Remember, such a beautiful recognition to the researchers. My heartfelt respect to all the people who have brought it, that it has not been used anywhere in the world, or it is not recognized for use in cosmetic by any national and international literature. What a fantastic welcome as a researcher. That's why I put at the #1 column as a new cosmetic. A lot of definitions are there. Then again, what is called manufacturer definition for import of cosmetic is also mentioned here. And also the words of expressions which are not elaborated in earlier drugs and cosmetic 23 of 1940 has also been explained. Each word, each definitions are explained one by one. Naturally, there will be much more additions when the time is coming in future. Chapter 2 is also explaining about the controlling officer, about the qualification, duties, responsibilities of government analyst, the scope and the denomination of licensing authorities, the power and duties function of inspectors, which was earlier there, but it was not clear. So powers, duties of functions inspectors, and also how a establishment and function of the central cosmetic laboratory has to run with introduction of designation as a director, and its recruitment is also been defined, fine-touched here in the chapter 2. In the chapter 3, the importance, what I understood, is basically elaborating of the import of cosmetics as per the rule number 5, sub rule number 1, its fees, its categories, and also the durations, validity, rejections, approvals, all are described in the chapter 3. But yes, this chapter 3 also, I likely that this will also going to be more amendments are going to happen in days to come. Chapter 3 is also describing, as I told you earlier, the validity. Presently, it is 5 years from the date of application. It is also explaining about the fresh application in case there is a change in the constitution of the company, of the manufacturer or importer, the durations, the validity, what happened in cases of registration address is going to change. Earlier in Europe, we call there are two definition comes, which is not here in the CTCs or regulation rules there. Like what is called the minor changes, what is called major changes. Those classifications need to come here, because which changes are ignored, which changes need to be documented, because 60 days, 180 days are longer days there. So those need to be taken care. And also this is definitely is going to have more amendments, additions is going to happen, because import is one of the important criteria for better companies entering into terms of the ingredients, in terms of the primary formulations which are coming bulk, or intermediates, and also finished formulations. My knowledge says that finished formulations importer of the cosmetics in India are not very significant, like we are living on the import of transit ingredient. That means they will add like new, because research in cosmetics in India are not very high, like pharma, very, very low, because usually the manufacturers in India in the better company like in Himalaya or other companies like maybe for the Procter & Gamble or anybody, the companies which are well known, we are using. If I'm not wrong, 75% of ingredients are imported either from France or from Germany or from US. For example, phenoxyethanol, which is a class 2 preservative, we are using phenoxyethanol, but now there are various companies are coming which are the raw material providers. They're adding phenoxyethanol with other ingredients that increases the potency of the validity or the shelf life of the product. Same way, there is another ingredient called neolin PE, which is marketed by another company in India. This is also a combination of two preservatives, and many manufacturers in India are not aware that what is neolin PE consists of, or what XP is consisted of. Those are consisted of multiple ingredients. And now, with the introduction of new import licensing system, the manufacturer of those companies which are charging a jubilant price When they declare, the customer will come to know that what ingredient they are using, because many such ingredients are not permitted into the baby care, into the genital areas, into the nostril and under eye areas, and also those products which are remaining on our body for longer. And we doctors are very concerned about the carcinogenesis, are being added unknowingly, knowingly not declared to the customer. They are bound to declare, which is a really, really good decision. So I want to say that this chapter 3 is 100% is going to more amendments, because a lot of raw materials I'm talking for are imported, and those needs to go through now the stages of approval, which is a really good decision. Chapter 4 is which is earlier it was there, like approval of the manufacturing licenses, loan licenses. If there is one company is having the multiple units completing a production, or a company is having multiple locations using for the same or different products, and the information by the manufacturer to the regulatory authority if there is a change in the certificate analysis or specifications or the process. Earlier it was there, but what I feel that earlier the micro ingredients which are less than 1%, which majorly comes colorants, very, very dangerous. Perfumes are allergens, perfumes, colorants, preservatives. And by the way, they say that these are active molecules for anti-aging, anti-wrinkle, sun toning, sun tanning, hair removers, corrosive chemicals, which the companies use less than 1% for efficacy use. Now they have to declare. Earlier there was no provision. So hopefully the chapter 4 needs more training to the manufacturers, because till now I have no idea that how many manufacturers are aware about these changes which happened. No idea. And that maybe the 40 to 45% of the manufacturers are feeding to the Indian ordinary class of customers by way of moderate or cheaper cost of cosmetic product, where our lovely villagers, our senior citizen, and also the youngsters are taking the product by terms of the color cosmetics, by term of the premium skincare product or hair care, to make them better presentable or vulnerable. So I would request to this platform, in future, let us have a series of such discussions, creating awareness to the manufacturer. Everybody has to attend compulsorily, then only we can achieve the mission, what is our honorable government with the help of CDSCO are trying to bring the harmony in the Indian platform. Chapter 5 is very important, but presently the explanations, definitions, and scope are not defined properly in the rules of 2020. I hope in future CDSCO, with the help of other learned scientists in government and also private, has to make better elaborations, because this is the chapter 5 certainly open a developed country in terms of the businesses, in terms of the better products, whether indigenous or exogenous. It is going to be a better platform. So I hope I request that in future, without further delay, the chapter 5 need to be more elaborated so that the Indian people can get the better and better products, because we are going through a marvelous researches outside and inside India, and the more elaboration of the research can bring some glory to the Indian market sometime in the downline of 2 to 3 years. Chapter 6 is explaining about the sale and distribution, which was almost all are there in earlier, but few are there, like toothpaste. If fluoride is coming higher more than 1000 ppm, or the hair labeling, the hair dye, which is very, very dangerous and people are using day by day more and more, need to be more elaborated, which is not here. But it is a better explained from the other one. I hope my colleagues, learned people, or the resources which are available here can agree that the hair dye are being used to the people above 40 usually. And as a medical doctor, I should say that above 40 is more chances of the skin cancer, blood cancer, and other cancers which are available more than by 5 to 7% is the cervical, ovarian, testis, and parotid. So we have to be very careful, more elaborative, to bring the clarity on the dyes. I hope my scientist friends will agree on that, so that whatever we use in a proper definitions, proper quantification. So chapter 6 is really good, but there should be more elaborations in details of ingredient allowed, like how Malaysian government, NPRA, National Pharma Regulatory Authority, has clearly mentioned different annexures. If my colleagues are aware of the NPRA, one of the stringent country regulation in globally 5th rank it comes for the cosmetic regulation, NPRA. They have clearly mentioned how much to use, what to use, when to use, which is prohibited, which is not prohibited. Such annexures in India we are looking for, and hopefully it will coming in future days. Chapter 6 is a good explanation on the contaminants, on the heavy metals, which was not there in earlier regulations or rules thereof. Beautifully explained what should be the contaminants allowed, permitted into the different skin care product, including the cleansing product of soap. Really good, and I hope that this chapter also should go discussed among the raw material manufacturers and finished formulation people. Then only we can achieve, unless this will be a page in chapter or punishment by the inspectors. But people, we have to bring to the scope of the manufacturers of the raw material and finished formulas. Then only we can achieve the chapter 6 is really going to help the customers, unless it will remain as a judicially legal penalties by the authority to the manufacturers. Chapter 7 is explaining about the samplings, well defined, well clear, and very transparent. Chapter 8, approval for laboratory, is also explained, but more elaboration should be there about the instrumentation, calibrations, durations, differentiation. I think that as they are mentioning the NABL accreditation law, so an NABL scope defines, but whether that scope is meeting to our criteria of our cosmetic rule, that our authority panelists need to verify. This is a chapter 9 is miscellaneous. Nothing to say more on this. So here I want to draw like the authorized agent of importer, like earlier the authorized agent was not so much responsible bringing the product in India. They earn the commissions by way of importing. Now bringing them into the responsibility like a manufacturer, like a marketer, is defined in these rules of 2020. This is a well step taken by in these rules mentioned there. No cosmetics shall be imported into India unless the product has been registered in accordance with the rules by the Central Licensing Authority of the sub rule 1 of the rule 5, which is really welcome and a good part for our Indian citizen to be safe from the other health contaminations. This already we have been discussed in the importing. As I told you that explained here, the bulk formulation importing, its condition and terms which are mentioned there has been included in the rules of 2020. But till my knowledge is concerned, this explanation was not much more available in earlier, or I might have missed understanding. But this is well mentioned here in this rule 2020. Certificate validity also has been mentioned here. The processes, the retention fee, what are the responsibility of registration holder, and also about the fresh registration. If the registration is cancelled, application is rejected, what happens next? If the constitution of a manufacturer has been changed, what happens next? How to proceed ahead? How many days they can be exempted or allowed to wait or permitted timing before submission of the application when the constitution changes has been explained here very beautifully, well narrated. Labeling changes is going to happen because below the 1% need to be explained. So we have to educate to the manufacturers, marketers about these changes, unless it will remain as a phase and again the law or legality by our authorities. This is a really good step, as I told earlier. The full declaration of ingredient, not cosmetic, made mandatory. Earlier it was just people say in the descending order, but they will not mention everything. Now they are bound to mention, which is really good. Quality control of cosmetic ingredients and products has been made into more elaboration in this rules 2020, which is a welcome step and has to happen. So these are I made certain FAQs like which date cosmetic rules 2020 shall come into force. We say 15 December 2020. What is the status of existing cosmetic manufacturing license issued on Form 32? So usually before this, the manufacturer already having the valid license in Form number 30 because form is going to change now, but it will be a period of 18 months from the date of rules are notified. if Deshpande or any senior fellow can bring any modification these or has been changed, we don't know, but the rules, new rules, it has been mentioned that it will be there for 18 months. What is the revised license fee under cosmetic rules 2020? That also I have made in the line from the guidances which is given. That fee for the grant of license 10,000, but I understood that for the 10 items this fees is included. Retention fees 10,000, which is really good. It was not earlier. Then item fee per item is 500. Late fee per month 2%, which was not there earlier. If I'm wrong, Deshpande Sahab can explain me, because this was not there earlier, I think so. And approval for testing laboratory 1,000. All these charges has been mentioned third schedule of 2020. Is inspection required for the grant of cosmetic licenses? Yes, it is required. On which form cosmetic license granted as per new cosmetic rule 2020? It is cosmetic form number 8. What are the new procedures for getting new cosmetic license as per the cosmetic rules 2020? I made this FAQs because people are asking me whenever we go there. So I thought I will bring all this in the diary session here. The procedure given in the rule 23, the fees, list of documents, form number, date validity, and how they have to upload in the CDCA. So after the license approval, all has been defined time manner is really good, and it brings the clarity between the bureaucrats and also the manufacturer. The most important is the customers or consumers. For how much time manufacturer record is to be retained? This is usual. Everybody asks to me whenever in my company, outside company, old company. So always we say that manufacturer record to be retained for a period of 3 years from the date of expiry. And this is exactly as per European guidelines. And really, it is a welcome decision. 3 years is required, because usually what they do, people, ingredient people, manufacturers, they usually go for retest and resell the product in the market. So this is a thought process which has come for here, the 3 years from the date of expiry of the product. How much time the testing record is to be retained? This definition was a GLP, good laboratory practice, for the preclinical clinical lab, but this is also implied for the cosmetic licenses or regulation, that it is also has to be retained a specific period for all the testing records, which was not there earlier for the cosmetic license holders. Is there any change in the qualification of technical staff? No, because usually earlier there are 3 qualified people are allowed. One is the D.Pharm, second is the BSc chemistry, third is the graduate in the cosmetic technology or cosmetic science. This remains because this is a basic qualification, but industries recruit much more qualified people in pharma, PhDs, MSc, PhDs, MTech, cosmetic sciences. A lot of people come here. So this will be basic qualifications, not changed from the old to new one. Within how much time the firm has to obtain license due to change in the constitution? That's within 6 months. Within how much time the firm has to obtain license due to change in the name of the firm? Within 2 months. So these are the new forms which I found was not there in earlier. I may be wrong, I don't know. I need a correction from my senior faculties. So these are the forms which I found as a newer, like fair pricing form, memorandum to the government analyst. The few are very good, and hopefully if we all maintain the records, we are going to have a new 2021 as a glorified year into come. What are the different categories and the area required to manufacture? This is all in the square meters. Deviations are there, additions are there, starting from powder, skin product powder for the infants, creams, lotions, shampoos, shaving creams, hair oils, emulsion, pastes, cleansing milk, nail polish, nail lacquers, lipstick, lip glosses, depilatories, eyebrows, eyelashes, aerosols, alcohol fragrance, hair dyes, tooth powders, toilet soaps, all the areas has been qualified. But still the proper definition has to come here, because as a researcher, as a medical practitioner, we see the depilatories for eyes are very, very sensitive. So as we are having the very senior faculty for CDCSO, so why cannot we bring a stringent GMP norms wherever we are using manufacturing premises for depilatories for eyes, eyebrows, eyelashes, eyeliners, and lipsticks? Should not we bring into the stringent GMP norm what is applicable to the pharmaceutical companies, because these are used or sensitive part of the human, whether it is a cornea, because eye shadows, under eye creams, eyeliners, are plenty chances are that they are coming to contact of the conjunctiva. They are also coming to contact of the cornea. If a girl or woman is using a little bit more, the lipsticks, people are using a lot of layered to make it more brightening, although the heavy metals has been covered there. But can we or should we be able to bring more stringent GMP norms for at least the product which are coming sensitive area, because the square meter spaces for these spaces are too low whenever we look at pharmaceutical GMP guidelines available for the ophthalmic preparations. Is definition of new cosmetic has been introduced in Cosmetic Rule 2020? Yes. This is, as I told, this is a new as per Rule 3F, which was not there in earlier. So I made myself reading the lines by lines, words by words, that what are the new schedules has been introduced which was not there in earlier, or try to share few of here. The first schedule, the second schedule part 1, third schedule, second schedule part 2, fourth schedule, fifth schedule, sixth schedule, seventh schedule. So the definitions or the explanations are written right side, which are the new, are not there in the old, like manufacturing and raw material records, standards for cosmetic BIS introduction, list of colors permitted in soaps which are not there earlier, undertaking by the importers. So these are the additions. GLPs, the good laboratory practices, exemptions also, and the cosmetic inclusion words in other definitions also brought a new amendments, new addition, new glory to this rule 2020. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mishra ji. That was a very elaborate presentation with the detailed observations from the industry's perspective. And indeed, most of the audience, they are finding very useful to understand in detail about the regulations. So we have a few of the senior regulators with us who wants to share their perspective on the new regulations and the amendments that might be needed in the coming days. We have Dr. B.R. Jagshetty ji, the former drug controller from the Karnataka. Welcome, Dr. Jagshetty ji, for your comments.
Thank you, Lakshmi ji. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir, please.
Unable to see.
We can hear you, sir.
Trial this. Can you remove the trial? I mean, this one presentation.
Removing now.
Done, sir. We can hear you, sir. Please go ahead.
You can hear. Thank you, Lakshmi, for giving me a chance to speak. but not as a panelist since I am not prepared for this one. I got some issues, 2, 3 issues to say. Whether it is helpful as of today, it is helpful to the industry and other stakeholders, but there may be problem with regulators. Number one is time period for testing given is very high. Testing laboratory, they have told some 60 days or something. I feel it is a 60 days is too high. It is not a drug, this one, it is a cosmetic. And even for the persons who import and they'll be waiting there. And if you wait for 60 days test report, I think that time period may be reduced. So I think that may be required. And then as of today, though it is published on 15th December 2020, almost now 2 months are passed. But the one thing by oversight or whatever it is, a rule has been missed out. Now the SLAs, none of the SLAs, if I am wrong, please rectify some of the officers if amendment has come. Now, as of today, there is no provision to cancel or suspend the license. I don't think any SLAs will be able to do based on the verification by the inspector or anybody for any violation of conditions of license and all. He doesn't have, because earlier it was in rule 143, 142A, it was there, but whereas that is missed out, I think it is brought to the notice of DCJ also. Somehow the it should have been taken place. Otherwise, unless they give retrospective date or something like that, this gap period, some of the SLAs might have felt that how to take the action. So there is no provision for that. And then if in case of, if it is declared on, or if it is declared substandard quantity, or if it is officers found as a spurious or adulterated cosmetics, how do they reach the actual manufacturer unless the control of sale is done? Either by licensing or by registration, sale is not controlled. It is completely exempted. This is what we were telling right from many years. It was telling both for Ayush and cosmetics. Whereas homeopathy, there is a sale control is there, other sale control is there. There is no control. In the absence of any control by in any form of the sales, reaching back to the actual manufacturer, it may be difficult, I feel. And then, of course, enabling provisions will continue the same thing. There is one more thing I saw, it categories. Of course, it is mentioned in schedule, but nothing has been mentioned in the rule, or nothing has been mentioned in the application form, or nothing has been mentioned in the license form for manufacturing. But it says separate categories means separate license has to be taken. But where is the provision in the application form? It only mentions as items. Items will not go as a categories. Categories is entirely different from items. So if a manufacturer wants to apply for a different category, how? There is no provision in the application. There is no provision. So there is a lacuna, something. This has to be rectified, I feel. These are some of the things I thought of at present, what I feel. Just a minute. And also there is a licensing, it has been permitted to grant the license without inspection, okay? And within 30 days, it has to be inspected. Now, at the time of inspection, if the officer found that it is not as per the self-declaration, whatever was given, and they can stop the manufacturing at that moment immediately, and then allow them to rectify, but allow them to rectify under how many days? It is a blank. He can rectify even 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. However, after rectification, it bounds the licensing authority to dispose of or to permit him to manufacture or whatever it is within 7 days. But manufacturer has not been given. Manufacturer may be happy, but this is a very much wrong, I feel. There should be time limit, some maximum time limit, maybe 30 days, maybe 15 days, maybe 6 months, whatever it is there. Some time limit has to be given. It cannot go without any time limit. That's what I feel. These are the few of the observations. However, I was not prepared fully. Thanks a lot for giving this chance to Lakshmi and other Bhaskar and Deshpande and all others. Thank you. And Mishra ji has explained very nicely, and he has done the PowerPoint presentations very nicely, and he has explained all the things nicely. Thank you, Mishra ji, Dr. Mishra ji.
Thank you, Jagdish.
Thank you, Jagshetty ji. The observations, observations of yourself are very well noted, and I request other officers to offer their comments on these points. So moving on, we are going to the Q&A questions, questions posted in the Q&A tab, and I'll be taking a few of the questions there, sir. So there is a question regarding the Ayurvedic cosmetics manufacturing process. So are they allowed to go ahead with the manufacturing of this Ayurvedic cosmetics under the same manufacturing license given under these cosmetics rules?
You are asking to me or the from?
So
okay.
Q&As are posing to you on this.
Okay. So basically in the drugs and cosmetic regulation, the Ayurvedic products comes in a different classes of the regulation. But if they want to continue with the same existing, I should say no, because they have to fall in the same criteria what is applied here.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I mean, regarding the registration certificate granted under Rule 13. So, shall this registration certificate validity remains perpetual subject to the payment of the retention fee, or does the manufacturer or importer needs to go ahead with the renewal process for the registration certificate as well?
Yeah, I would like this answer by Deshpande or from the official from the CDCS.
Sir, we have CDSO officers have not joined as a panelist. I would request you to throw some light on this point, sir.
Okay, so as per the new cosmetic rules 2020, the company has to apply for new licenses in the span of 18 months. They have to apply for new licenses. The label has to change, and they have to go for all the things a new way, not waiting the license to expire.
So the validity remains, I mean, it remains valid perpetual subject to the payment of the retention
Yes.
fee.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, sir. So can you please throw some light on making the claims by the manufacturers under these new regulations and rules?
Okay, the claims when comes usually as per the rules regulations of Government of India. There is a committee which is set up by the government earlier, and there is independent bodies working on that called ASCI, Advertising Standard Council Authority of India. What they usually look that any claim which is usually cosmetics, our claims are very much definable, like we say cleansing, beautifying, glorifying, all these general words by definition. But if they have some claims like anti-acne or acne reducing, sun tanning, sun glowing, they have to go for the safety, efficacy, and I would request that they have to follow the PIF criteria, product information folder criteria, which already be defined in drug and cosmetic old. And as per that schedule they have to follow, because that is not a scope of present rules. That is a different goes for the clinical trials and then efficacy studies, but without an animal, no animal testing. They can go for in vitro analysis. They can go for human efficacy study. As per the schedule J, they have to follow. If there is a claim, but usually in cosmetics, claims we should not encourage.
Sorry for interruption. This any claims, if it happens, it definitely attracts the section 17C, that is
Yes.
misbranded cosmetics.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying, Dr. Jagsis.
Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification, sir. But it seems the new rules are not so specifically mentioning about the stability data requirements for the cosmetics. So what would you suggest, sir, from the international best practices perspective? What would you suggest the industries to follow the stability data requirements for the cosmetics as per the international norms?
So if you are asking for international norm, only one authority controls the ICHS guideline.
Mhm.
International Community Harmony is the ICS guideline. The protocol we need to follow, which India, there are 4 categories has been done: category 1, category 2, category 3, category 4. Depending on that category, India, we follow the 3 and we need to follow that one.
Okay. So perhaps we can have a more detailed deliberation on the
Yes,
those requirements
yes.
and stability
That
studies.
is a scientific, not related to regulation. That is a science for the manufacturing.
So
I
there
think Dr. Jagdish, anything want to comment on that?
No, it's all right. You are told correctly. There's no problem.
Thank you.
because there are a few questions on the technical dossier part also for the cosmetics and all. Perhaps
That you can put a separate session, maybe 2 hours period. Yes, maybe 2 hours.
Sure, sir. Sir, is there any provisions regarding the disposal policy of the primary and secondary and tertiary ingredients of the waste materials of the cosmetics manufacturing plants currently in place?
That is if you follow the GMP, good manufacturing norm, this is defined, that how to dispose, where to dispose, because that is again a different classification, not a scope of presently, which I think Dr. Jamshed can also help us give input, because there is a protocol in the good manufacturing practices, and there is a different body which is taking care of disposals and its regulations, and then systems, temperatures, and every company, every manufacturer has its own quality assurance and quality control team who are adherent to the policies of the like pharma. You usually go for bio disposal, biohazard disposal, biodisposals, incineration chambers. So I don't think there is something different in the cosmetic industry, that many cosmetics which are biodegradable, there is a policies. Non-biodegradable, that is a policies. Non-biodegradable usually go for incineration processes. Biodegradable go for the secondary processes. I think there is a protocol by every company has follow quality control and quality assurances. Anything new regulation, I did not find anything here.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks for detailed clarification on those points. And I guess we have taken up most of the questions posed by the audience. And we will be sharing the presentation on YouTube to all the participants, sir, after this session. And now I request the senior colleagues of ADCOC to offer their comments on the talk.
Lakshmi, can I have 30 seconds?
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to talk anything about the presentation and its content, but I recollect the batting of Rahul Dravid. So he is very simple in his presentation, without any break or without any excitement, and simply he is very stable in his presentation. And the time what he's asking for the next session is 2 hours itself is showing that he have a lot of material with him, and I think we certainly need to work on it, and it's a good presentation, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I think we should invite him once again, because this 1 hour was not enough for the explanation.
Well noted, sir. We'll plan a detailed program in the coming sessions. We are running a poll for the feedback on the program, and I request all the audience to kindly participate and share your feedback. It will really help ADCOC to improvise our upcoming preparations for the future programs. Now I request Dr. Amal Kumar, the Drugs Inspector from Bihar, to extend the vote of thanks. Over to you, Dr. Amal.
Very good afternoon. Am I audible, Lakshmi?
Yes, Dr. Amal.
A very good afternoon, honorable dignitaries, respected speaker and panelists, and our prestigious participant. It's my privilege to have us to propose a vote of thanks on this training session. Our speaker, respected speaker, Dr. Misra sir, communicated very well in a very simple manner. I must say that the words what he has communicated to not only penetrated our brain, but also our heart. As a researcher and practitioner, he opened the mind of our regulators in a think on the different views in the regulatory prospects and a micro level critics and FAQ model he has presented. So we like most effectively on this, and the communication was very, very well. I must thanks to the Dr. Misra sir for giving us a precious time on behalf of the ADCOT Training Academy. And we would definitely like to see you again for a broader session and for a longer period. I must thank to Deshpande sir for always being with us, for suggesting the in every law points or every aspects to the all drug control officers, and he has made this ADCOT Academy training system very much. I would like to thank Uday Bhaskar sir and our senior colleagues, Jagat Sethi sirs, and not at the list, Lakshmi, who she has taken the pain to coordinate all things on behalf of the ADCOT Academy session. And also our prestigious participants who always take the time to be here to attend the ADCOT presentations. And definitely as our regulators, we are taking the much more benefit to this discussion session. We look forward for looking more sessions on this, and thank you all dignitaries, our speaker and the respected panelists and all the audience and participants. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Amal. And once again, on behalf of ADCOT Training Academy, our sincere thanks to Dr. Mishra for sparing your valuable time with us despite your busy schedule. And we look forward to having more engaging sessions with you on our platform.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Deshpande and Uday Bhaskar.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mishra.
Thank you.
So nice of you to spare your time.
No, it's my pleasure.
Very enlightening presentation for the speakers, for the audience, not only from the industry and the regulatory office.
Thank you.
And to me as a student of law, it was most enlightening. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a good day. Bye.